Okay, this is kind of a random one because I've had a long, hard day, which is not quite over yet. And then I just finished a little while ago an hour long on Lakeshore Public Radio with Tom and Dane Cook, also known as Nameless Bay. Oh, hold on, this tripod's about to fall over. Well, let's see if it... Oh, good. Hopefully that'll stay up for a bit longer. Anyway, I was really quite impressed. So Tom's a brilliant interviewer, and he did a really good job of trying to summarize my crazy brain. So he talked about all the various books I've written, and I just thought, since I discussed them on radio, I might as well show you the covers. So the first was Face on Mars, which is non-fiction. And then I wrote this book, which is also non-fiction. That's the Systema one. And these are both pretty, this is like 400 and something. 460 pages on this one. This one is over 500 and has just been recently revised in 2014. Yeah, this is also 520. And then there's the fiction books. Now, the fiction books started out with this, which was the original cover of Overlords of Mars. There is an alternate cover, which actually has got my wife's eyes and a little bit of her face in the corner. This was the original cover, and the one I designed. Actually, my wife's eyes on the alternate cover that's a picture of her from before we got married. Long before we got married. And this is the second book in the series, which also has a woman on the cover. That's one of the Martian pyramids. And this one is pretty cinematic. Now, the third book in the series is not done yet, and that's been a while because I did this one, I think, in 2014. This one came out in 2011, so 3 years between books, and it's now 2019, and I haven't finished the third one. Just life gets in the way, Got divorced, got married, had a kid, stuff. And this one, Confederate Rising, is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek. This is a little novella. This one was written mostly for my friends, and there's a lot of inside jokes. Those of you who know me personally will get the inside jokes. Those of you who don't will just read it as a cool story. This is set in the same universe as the Overlords of Mars, but many years in the future. And lastly, but not leastly, of course, and perhaps more importantly than many of the others, is the Believe, which has got quite a few people to convert to Catholicism. Proper Catholicism, not Novus Ordo. And even more. Now, these are the books for the immortal mistress of sound. And since it's taken me so long, and I know that books to the States take ages to get there, sometimes a couple of months, because, you could probably mail C4, okay, but books, that's real dangerous stuff. So the US Customs keeps it for a couple of months sometimes. And I didn't want that. So since I'm going to be in the States, once I get in the States, Alicia, these are coming straight to you. And so that was that. The radio interview was really quite cool. I'm very impressed with Dane, who's organized all sorts of things. One of the things I said on the radio, because the interviewer said, Dane said that, the Kurgan didn't really believe that I was really serious about getting him to the States. And it's like, that's not quite accurate. I didn't have time to think he wasn't serious, because he said to me, would you come to the States if I fly you over? And I was like, yeah, but look, I've got a family and it's time. And, it's like 6 hours later, he had the GoFundMe page up. He'd thrown money at it. He got people involved. I was like, what the hell, dude? Okay, I guess I'm in. So... Oh, and we're now within, thanks to a very generous anonymous contributor, Corvius, I think it was his sort of on-screen name, which is Latin for what are those black birds? Corvo. I forget the name in English for right now. I've got a brain fart moment, probably because I've had a glass of wine and a bit of cognac and chocolate. So they Oh, those big black birds, they're like scavengers. It'll come to me. Anyway, it's called Corvo in Italian and Corvus in Latin, and that's kind of his nickname. So thank you very much, because you've got us within, I think, $700 or $800. I don't know. I haven't checked lately. Let me have a quick look. Fundraiser. There we go. Right. We are now... Oh, no, that's not updated. Right. So we're now at $1,884 of $2,500. So we're within, striking distance. We're within about $600 of, Nobilis Corvus. The noble... Oh, what the hell is that bird called in English? I don't know. Like I said, I'm having a senior moment. The noble Corvo, which is that black bird that eats dead bodies and other things. Thank you very much. That was a very generous donation. So we're within $600 of Nameless Bear breaking even. There's going to be some books to sign. There's going to be some t-shirts. And there's going to be me for 3 hours in a room that seats 22. And it's right next to the theater where the Big Bear will have his show, which we're going to. And we're also going to meet up with him. And, those of you that are there, I think there's certainly a few of you that have told me that you're going to be there as well. Come and say hi for sure, whether you're at the book signing or at the Big Bear thing. I mean, I'm pretty easy to recognize, And some random things that I just sort of remembered was, Vox Day goes on about don't talk to the media. And he's right. He's very right. But some of us are able to talk to the media. Now, keep in mind that I did my first TV interviews because of the Face on Mars in England with a channel that was called E something, like E with an exclamation mark, like entertainment. And while I was doing the interview, I could just tell from the questions the guy was asking that he was trying to he was going to edit whatever I said in a way that would just make whatever I said sound obscenely stupid or crazy or whatever. So on the fly, and I realized I was 26 years old, and I realized this while he was giving me the interview, and I just thought, no, fuck you. I'm going to give you the answers in a way that you're not going to be able to edit them. When I finished that interview, I walked out and I told my friend, I said, fucking hell, I don't know what that's going to look like. They're probably going to put the face of an alien on my face and make me look like crazy. And he burst out laughing. You will never believe this. And if I still have the tape somewhere, I think I need to convert it to digital stuff, because this was 24 years ago. And lo and behold, when the TV program came out, they did superimpose, while I was talking, the face of one of those gray aliens with antennas and shit over my face. It was just we said it as a joke. They actually did it. But they had to do that because they couldn't do anything else. All my answers were phrased just short enough and direct enough that he couldn't really make what I said sound crazy. And I just thought it was very interesting. So I had a very early on understanding of how the media works. And Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM, which is where I was interviewed, I've got to say that interview was very good, and the show seemed very honest. So it wasn't at all that kind of a setup. It was a genuine sort of want to get information about you and want to spread the word type thing. So it was very interesting. It was very, very good. Vox is right when he says don't talk to the media as a general rule. And when you're talking about, things like the New Yorker or, major newspapers or so on, or Wired magazine, Cosmopolitan, those guys. I was in Cosmopolitan. I've been interviewed by newspapers and so on, and I've appeared in them, various times in my life. And almost all of those guys will do a hit piece on you. Even when they're not trying specifically to do a hit piece, they will still do kind of a hit piece on you. It's just how they operate. So you kind of got to know what you're doing if you're into that thing, or just not care at all. And I've kind of got both. So, but that aside, there was a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. I can't remember what the hell they were, because I've just had one of those days today. But yeah, I'm gonna be in Hobart on the 4th and the 5th, So it's going to be on whatever day the 4th is, I think. I think it's the 4th or the 3rd. I think it's the 4th. I think the 4th is when we're doing the book signing. But it's on the donate page, I think. So let me just see. Yep. So it is, the location of the book signing is it's a record shop called Record Bin. It's on 218 Main Street in Hobart. There are 22 seats in there. Confirmed people that are coming, let they know, because then we will try and save you a seat. If you just turn up on the day, maybe there's plenty of empty seats and I'll just be sitting by myself, or maybe there's just not enough standing room, And there's, if you donate $75 or more, you get a T-shirt or a signed copy of Believe or The Face on Mars for the first 15 seats, first 15 people who sign up for it. And a couple of guys already have, so they're going pretty quick now. If you bring a book, I'll sign it. Pretty much if you bring anything else, I'll probably sign it. Or if you're trying to intentionally be offensive, well, maybe I won't, but we'll see. That's basically it. I'm just trying to see what the date is. I think it's gonna be on the 4th, whatever the Saturday is. Saturday or the Friday? I'm not sure. No, it's the Friday. Friday, I think, is the 4th, because I fly out on the 3rd. Okay, so that's about it. Like I said, a bit rambly. And there was, the interview asked a lot of questions, and one of the things that obviously has come up a lot in my life was it's very difficult to summarize any of the things I'm interested in, mostly because they're very complex topics, or because it takes years to get familiar with them, So like just in the introduction, the way I sort of thought, man, if I was listening to this radio, I think the guy that they're interviewing has got to be a bullshitter and a bit of a dick, because supposedly this really good martial artist, and I've written books, and I'm a hypnotist, and I've traveled the world, and I've grown up in different countries, and I speak different languages. And it's sort of like, yeah, he can't be good at all that shit. But I actually am good at a bunch of stuff. I'm also really not good at a bunch of other stuff, but the fact is that I don't think of it as particularly strange, but that's because it's me and it's my life. I realize, however, that the average person probably, maybe does a 10th of the thing that I've done if they have an interesting life. And weirdly enough, one of the things that we came up with on this was playing role-playing games with my brother. We used to make up these characters, and we were trying to compare them to what we knew and what we were like when we were teenagers. And we were like, man, it's, these guys are all like your first level, your second level, your third level characters. They're kind of like stupid. They're kind of like weak, It's like, man, these guys can't do anything. It's like you have to pick your skills, and it's like you have to choose sort of like between swimming and breathing, stuff. Like, what the hell? And my brother was like, yeah, but because he'd been in the States, and then he was like, yeah, but the thing is, most people just don't know shit, and we all, because we grew up in Africa, we were kind of thinking, oh, the rest of the world knows all this stuff and more, they know a lot more than us. And it was the other way around. When I came to Europe, I was like, these guys are all retarded. What the hell? When I came to England, one of the first questions one of the girls asked, I got into the class, and they're like, oh, hi, where are you from? Welcome. I was like, oh, I lived in Africa. Like, but where in Africa? What's the capital of Africa? These were students at what was then called A-levels. So just before you go off to university, you're like 16, 17 years old. Some of them were 18, between there. And they were studying geography. Geography was one of their only 3 subjects that they took at A-levels. And I got, honest to God, asked, what is the capital of Africa? By one of the girls. And the other people, the other girl that was there, the other guy, were like, oh wait. So to make a joke, I said, I don't know, what's the capital of Europe? And her friend goes, the capital of Europe, isn't that like London? Is it London? I'm not sure. I was like, oh my God, I'm in the fucking Twilight Zone. So And talking with my brother, he was like, yeah, but that's because most people don't know how to swim. Most people don't know more than one language. And, for us, it was like we were bilingual by the time we were like 10. It was like we both spoke English and Italian fluently, both read it, write it. And, since then, I've learned more languages. I remember once I was a few years back now when I went to see my dad. He had a problem with his computer. And the antivirus software is it called Karpinski or whatever? Anyway, it's a Russian antivirus, which is pretty good. But the support, of course, is in Russia, and like they gave a Russian number. My dad said, I tried to call these guys. My dad's like over 70 now. And he was like, I tried to call these guys, but they speak a funny language. I don't know what they're doing. Can you sort my shit out? And I was like, okay, Dad. And he goes, oh, and by the way, this was back in, I can't remember how long ago this was. This was probably 8 or 9, maybe even 10 years ago, whatever. And he goes, by the way, some random bitch, she sent me an email on LinkedIn. She was telling me that, some sex stuff, but I don't know who she is. I think she must be one of your girlfriends because we have the same name. And I was like, oh, shit, Dad. And I was just like, okay, Dad, never mind. Let's just fix your antivirus software. So I call up this number, which is in Russia. And of course, another guy on the other side rattles off in Russian, yes, how can I help? And my Russian is very limited, but it's good enough to sort of say, hi, I've got a problem. I don't really speak Russian. Can you put me through to somebody who speaks English? And both my dad and my brother were like, my dad was like, what language is he talking now? And my brother was like, I think he's speaking Russian. I don't know. Just when the fuck did he learn Russian? I don't know, Dad. You know how he is. He probably fucking learned last weekend. And I got through to somebody who could actually speak a bit of English, and with my broken Russian and their broken English, we got it sorted out. But yeah, to me, that's just sort of like, and the thing is, I still don't believe, although I've realized, thanks to Vox and some other stuff, I've realized that there's definitely that 30 IQ gap, and it does create problems, and it does make it difficult for other people to understand how you think and what you're trying to say and blah, blah, blah. But I still think that the average person can do so much more than they do. I mean, on Anne Barnhart's blog a while back, there was a picture of a sculptor that is, since I'm a kid, in Italy, we've got sculptures everywhere. In every piazza, you've got like statues and, brilliant stuff. And since I'm a kid, I looked at this stuff and I used to think, how the hell did they get a piece of marble to look like a human being to such an amazing level of detail? And I mean, you make one mistake, that's it. That's the marble broken. You got to start again. Anyway, on Barnhart's blog, there was a post where she had photographs of an amazing marble statue that was created by a relatively unknown but, brilliant artist of the, 15th century or something like that, who was 15 when he did that. He was 15 years old. I mean, there were people that were 13 years old and they led men into battle. So, right now, like your average 26-year-old lives at home with his parents and, probably can't change the tire on his car if he has a blowout. It's fucking ridiculous, So I think you should push yourself and you should be more willing to get way out of your comfort zone, test your limits, learn a new language, learn new shit, do stuff, do things. And, Dane Cook's a doer. I mean, that guy made a decision, stumped up a bunch of cash, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying it, but he let me on to a little insight into his life, which was, a few years ago, he was working in a menial sort of job, getting something close to minimum wage or less. And 9 years later, he's making really good money, and he's got a decent job, and he's pulled himself out of a situation that was pretty terrible, which has allowed him to, get married and have a child. So he's okay now. But, when he up fronted all that money, I was kind of worried for him. I was like, dude, I don't know if I don't even know if you're going to make your money back. I mean, that's a lot of money you put out. And he was like, you know what? I don't care. I have faith. And his faith is definitely being paid off. And the really important part of this little story that I wanted to tell you about, which is really his story to tell, because I don't know all the details, is that he has put his trust in the way of faith. I think he called it the way of faith and trust. And it's always given him great returns. And insofar as I've been able to do that, I absolutely concur. We're quite different people, different ideas, different ways of doing things, but that is absolutely true. If you have genuine faith, and it's not a begging, sort of like, oh, please help me out. No, it's like, God will provide, and you work your ass off. Don't get me wrong. Working your ass off is never optional. You just have to do it. It really works. So, whatever it is that you're struggling with, I know some of you are really pining for some kind of a relationship. Some of you got money issues. Some of you have got Catholic Church issues. There's a guy called Nick who wrote me an email. Nick, if you're watching this, I've sent you a response and I've told you to get a hold of me. I told you how to get a hold of me. Give me a call and we'll talk on the phone. It's easier than email, long emails and so on. Some of you are struggling with all sorts of stuff, as are all of us. But have faith, trust in God, and you will find an answer and you will find a way. It might not be the way that you thought, it might not be the answer you thought, but quite often the answer you get is better than you could ever expect and completely unexpected. So that's about it. I'm gonna say good night, and I'll try and ping out another video during the weekend at some point. Good night.